Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Good evening. Welcome to Kardec Radio. My name's Teresa, and I am the host for the Sunday 6 p.m. prayer. And this week, Kardec Radio is having a special tribute to Léon Denis. And you might be asking, who is Léon Denis? Well, he wrote many Spiritist books. Hello, Nora. Nice to see you. He wrote many Spiritist books, and he was born in 1846 in France, and he discarnated in 1927. So his first book he wrote in 1898, Cristianismo e Espiritismo. In 1909, he wrote the book Here and Hereafter. 1918, he wrote Life and Destiny. In 1921, The Big Enigma. In 1922, Into the Unseen. In 1922 again, he wrote Spiritism and the Arts. In 1923, he wrote After Death. And then in 1924, The Mystery of Joan of Arc. I want to read that book. So this is really a great feat because by 1910, he was practically blind, but he taught himself Braille. Hello, Betsy Cruz and Narciso, welcome. John DeRosa, nice to see you all here this evening. We're just talking about Léon Denis and the special tribute this week that Kardec Radio is honoring for Léon Denis. He was born into a humble family, and at an early age, he did manual labor to support his family. He is known as the Apostle of Spiritism. His task was to develop the doctrine studies to kind of expand on what Kardec had codified. He proceeded with mediumistic research, and he propelled the Spiritist movement in France and all over the world. His task was also to deepen the moral aspect of the doctrine and to consolidate it in the first decade of the century. So he's also known as the consolidator of Spiritism. He was definitely a man ahead of his time. He didn't smoke or drink, which in those times, everybody smoked. And he was also vegetarian. So another thing that's interesting is he never studied at an accredited academy. He was self-taught, and he in the practical school of life. And an interesting story. Hello, Abby Sher, welcome. Nice to see you. An interesting story is that I think it was the Spirits book, the first book. He saw it in a store just kind of randomly by Kardec, and he read it. But at this time, he was still quite young. I think he was maybe 18, maybe younger, and living at home. And so he had to be careful because his mother was very particular. So he had to hide the book. And the story is that his mother found the book, and she read it. And she actually became a Spiritist. So we never know how God's going to use us. So keep ourselves as good instruments, right? Okay. So our little message today, before we, before we have our prayer, is actually out of one of Léon Denis' books. And this is Into the Unseen. And the chapter is chapter 12. Now, we're not going to read the whole chapter because we don't have the time on this short program. But what we will, this is a passage out of chapter 12, and it is I'll read the title: Exteriorization of Human Beings, Telepathy, OBE, which stands for Out of Body Experience, and the Phantasms of the Living. So this is the little paragraph that we're going to read and talk about. The vibrations of our thoughts, when projected with intensity of will, spread far and wide and can influence other organisms in affinity with ours. Then, by causing a sort of backlash, they return to the point of emission. Two souls connected by the undulations of the same psychical rhythm can feel and vibrate in unison with one another. Sometimes a mysterious dialogue gets underway. Thoughts too subtle to be expressed in words are exchanged. Images, messages, calls float or fly in the fluidic atmosphere between these souls, which, despite the distance, feel united, penetrated by the same feeling, and radiate from one to the other the emanations of their psychical personalities. Those who love one another often correspond in this way, exchanging their joys and their sorrows. But the heart does not readily yield its secrets. A mother can hear through space the calls of her unhappy child. 1,000 impressions besiege us, which stem from the distant thoughts of those who are dear to us. This theory is based on indisputable evidence. And the rest of the chapter he spends, he goes on after that to talk about the different experiments and research they did in proving that we receive what we emit. Basically, how our thoughts are electromagnetic waves, or like electromagnetic waves, and we do create an environment around ourselves based on how we think. So, but anybody reading Spiritism pretty much picks up on that. And so it makes me remember Thought in Life by Emmanuel. So it's interesting because that Into the Unseen was written in 1922. And then here comes Emmanuel in 1958 through Chico Xavier with the book Thought in Life. And in chapter 1, it's called The Mirror of Life. So he describes, in Emmanuel's words, we live and breathe immersed in the atmosphere of the images we project and receive. He says that our thoughts set the stage for reaction of emotions, which creates ideas, and ideas determine attitudes and words. These command our actions. So we can see the chain of command there and how it's very important to mind our thoughts, so to speak. And then he also says in this chapter, our thoughts have a collective effect, which made me think about why it's so important during the pandemic for good mental hygiene, because we can imagine, fear, and, we all get in fear and we're just spreading it around. So I guess it leads to, so we ask ourselves, how do we change our thoughts? It sounds easy, but, I tell myself I won't think about something. I won't think about this or that. But then I find myself, that's all I'm thinking about. It's like, don't think about pink elephants. And then that's all you can think about. So, of course, it's a good question to ask, right? And so Kardec did it for us in the Spirits book, in number 919. So that's part 3, chapter 12, and the moral perfections. St. Augustine, Kardec asked the question, how is the best way that we can progress or improve ourselves? And he talks about self-knowledge. He talks about there in that chapter. I encourage everyone to take a look at it. So it's number 19 in the Spirits book. He talks about the nightly review, of asking ourselves questions. Have I offended anybody? Is there anyone who would have ill feelings toward me? And to kind of go through our day and, give ourselves a chance to see ourselves. And because remember, our actions, they go all the way back to our thoughts. So other tools are also journaling. It's another way to kind of get to know yourself, and also, you see what you're writing. This is what's going on in your mind. Meditation. It's another great tool to learn how to get that inner calm, and so we can better hear what we need to hear and see what we need to see. But it does require, we need to coach our minds, basically. It's coaching of the mind, which requires effort and repetition. So we're human. We are, surrounded by other humans and a lot of different energies. And so it's good to be aware and be mindful. Where is my thought right now? So with that, I think we should go off into our prayer. And I'm so glad to see all of you here today. So nice. Happy New Year to everybody. So let's have a little music and we will go off into our prayer. Let us calm ourselves. Try to use the mental eraser and clean off that mental screen. Just wipe it clean. We can always do this at any moment. We don't have to wait for Sunday. We don't have to wait for the new year. We don't have to wait for a holiday. Right in the moment, we can take the opportunity to clean that mental screen. And we prepare and center ourselves to ask for permission to be in the presence of God, Master Jesus, Mother Mary. We are all in the hand of God. It is said and well affirmed, we are all in the hand of God. Forever be praised. My God, our God, thy will be done. Illuminate our path. Comfort all of humanity. My God, our God, you are our guarantee. Here we deliver ourselves to you, together with the universal family. We thank you, Léon Denis, for the courage and the commitment to your life mission. Thank you for these beautiful books to help us progress and be better people. We take a moment to thank all the good, elevated spirits for their constant watch care and support. We also take a moment to remember those in more need than ourselves. We pray that suffering may be alleviated, even for just one moment. That we may remember we are not alone. We are all children of God. And in God's eyes, we are all equal. We thank you for this beautiful message today and the good reminder. Let us go into our week being more mindful of our thoughts and maybe observing how they do have an effect on our actions, our attitudes, ideas, and emotions. Thank you so much to Kardec Radio and their team for all the ongoing hard work they do to enable this space that we may come together and not only pray, but learn and connect. Thank you, and we ask permission to close this session. So be it. Thank you all again for being here with me. It was wonderful prayer. I hope you all enjoyed, and God willing, see you again next week, Sunday, 6 p.m., for another prayer. God bless.